beautiful day for Farm Aid 2024. I'm Jennifer Fahy, Farm Aid's Communications Director. And I am honored to be on stage today with the Farm Aid Board of Directors, including Farm Aid President Willie Nelson, Farm Aid co-founder John Mellencamp, Farm Aid co-founder Neil Young, Farm Aid board artist Dave Matthews, and Farm Aid board artist Margo Price. Let me also introduce my co-MC for this morning, Shorlette Ammons.
Good morning, good morning. Thank you, Jen. I'm Shorlette Ammons. I am Program Director for Farm Aid. Good morning, Saratoga Springs. Good to see y'all. It's so wonderful to be here with these amazing artist advocates and activists, and of course, all of our farmers and all of you. So good morning. Willie, we're all here thanks to your good work. How about you kick us off by welcoming folks here today?
Well, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to see all my buddies, and I'm glad y'all are here too. So we'll have some fun.
Thank you, Willie. It's also my pleasure to introduce Carolyn Mugar, Farm Aid's Executive Director since 1985.
I'm the same age as Farm Aid, 39. And thanks, Jen. And I want to thank everyone for being here, including farmers who've left their work on the farm to be here today with us and to talk with us. We all need to show our collective power to transform our food system. And I also want to be sure to thank the artists that are not on the stage. And some of them are in the audience. So if you're in the audience, please stand up, okay? Now, I know Mavis Staples is not here, but she is going to be here. Nathaniel Rateliff. And is Lucas here? I think he's not here yet. Lucas Nelson will be playing. And the Travelin' McCrorys with him. They're not probably here either. Is Charlie Crockett here? He's big. Thanks, Charlie. And Joy Aladakun. Is she here? Whoa. Southern Avenue? Anybody here from Southern Avenue? It's going to be a fun day. Cassandra Lewis. Jesse Wells. David Amram. The Wisdom Indian Dancers. And I apologize ahead of time. I know I'm not going to pronounce this. The three women who are wonderful, that used to be called Akwesasne singers, are now the Gundi Wanahawi. And is that just completely wrong? Anyway, are they here? I apologize. Anyway, thank you so much, because it's everybody who makes up this day today. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. It is so good to be back here in Saratoga Springs. If you are from New York, you know the crucial role that agriculture plays here. New York is home to 30,700 farms, And that is a decline, like in many other states, over the years, a 10% decline just since 2017. So we know that farm aid is still relevant and very much needed. That's why we're here today. The reasons for that are due to rising production and labor costs, consolidation, and abnormal weather patterns that are exacerbated by climate change. At the same time, eaters are also struggling. Food insecurity is rising, and across New York State, approximately 1 in 4 families experience food insecurity. In historically underserved neighborhoods, which are often those that are home to low-income families and people of color, there are few ways to access healthy food.
No doubt. And with all these challenges, y'all, New York is fertile ground for innovation. Farmers and advocates and activists are finding ways to meet the need of local, healthy, climate-friendly food for everybody. But there's still a lot of work to do here and all across the country. Right now, a handful of corporations control our food, including what's available at the grocery store and how much it costs. This is market manipulation 101, pushing down the prices paid to family farmers, ultimately driving them out of business. This is bad for farmers, bad for rural communities, bad for local economies, bad for public health, and bad for the soil, water, and climate conditions needed to create a sustainable food production. So yesterday, we had the very honor to hear from family farmers and rural folks like myself who have witnessed these negative impacts firsthand and are pushing back against this corporate chaos. Jen?
There are multiple injustices embedded in our farm and food system, but we can all use our collective power to take them on. As Shorlette mentioned yesterday at our farmer forum, farmers and organizers discussed how they can collaborate with each other and all of us to counter the relentless unfairness of the corporate food system.
Yep, I know that's right. Thank you, Jen. It was called a rural call to action for all. So Farm Aid's vision is one of a transformed America where family farmers and eaters are active participants in building their collective power to create a thriving farm and food system that benefits everybody. We've met farmers all over New York who know that they're standing between their communities and the heavy hand of corporate power. They represent a powerful movement of farmers and food justice activists on the front lines who are actualizing their own power to incite change where rural communities are working alongside our urban kinfolk.
That's right. These farmers are dedicated. They're also diverse. They are all different ages, all different levels of coming into agriculture. They are Black, Indigenous, and people of color farmers. They are LGBTQ+ farmers, and they are female farmers. This is how we make sure that every community's food system serves its unique needs. These farmers, some of whom are sitting on this stage today, are leading the way in creating a more democratic and equitable farm and food system that can sustain all of us. So, we're gonna get into meeting those farmers. The first group of farmers you're going to meet knew they faced an uphill battle when they got started, but through determination and grit, they realized their power to do things differently and participate in a food system that is good for farmers, for eaters, and for their community. Let's take a look.
We farmed in Maine for 18 years.
We were conventional, large-scale, wholesale vegetable growers.
Normal, standard chemical agriculture.
We all got pretty sick.
Well, the whole family got sick to some degree or another. We did find out we had some chemical contamination in our well, which was very shallow, either from our farming or from our neighbors' farming. All of our thyroids were compromised, and other health issues, and possibly related to ag chemicals in our drinking water. So we packed it up, just started heading west from Maine. We wanted a fresh start, and we did want to farm organically.
The change from farming in Maine conventionally to farming here organically, retail, where we really knew our customers, was extremely different. Here, every customer was precious. Growing things in a way where we were really enriching the land rather than just taking from the land was important to me.
20 years ago, weather was not a big concern. It is the main concern now. Every single year, we have some really devastating weather. That is the most difficult thing now about making our living on this farm. Good farming practices help with the extreme weather events. We farm on raised beds, so the entire farm is in what I think of as permanent beds. So when we get modest rains, the plants are not sitting in water. We want to be feeding as many people as we possibly can. We bend over backwards to make that happen. And so that kind of is what keeps us going, is that we feel like we're doing something good, something important. And it's really, for me, about feeding people good food.
We have a dairy farm, organic dairy farm. We've been organic since 2007. My grandparents started this farm in 1943.
When we decided to come take over the farm, we came here with nothing. We needed additional support. You're just starting out. We were only 22, 23 years old.
3 weeks married.
3 weeks married. Go to the bank and tell them you want a $500,000 loan to purchase a dairy farm. Well, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. They did. They denied us.
It was a 10-year plan for us to buy the farm. We smashed that and got it in 5. One bad financial decision or one bad sickness with the cows. It's like almost you can't catch your breath.
One year we finally broke it even, and it was like, It was great. It was a great feeling. There's a lot of loss in organic farming. It costs us a lot more to produce a lot less milk. The milk we produce is purchased by a co-op who processes it and distributes it to stores across the country.
We would work literally all day, and then sometimes like at 10 o'clock at night, we would still find ourselves sitting out in the calf barn, like watching the calves, like look what we've done. Hopefully we can somewhat pass it down to the children. Yeah, they're gonna have to, work for it or in somewhat pay for it, but we don't want to have to pass down the debt where they can't get a leg up.
Even after a hard day or a stressful day, you get inside and it's like, you still did something, you still accomplished something.
So normally these two farm families would join us on stage and chat, but they work so hard and they're farmers, and often the case is you plan for that day off and you can't get it. But we were very excited to have the opportunity to do a Zoom. Never thought I'd say that on stage. I was excited to Zoom with Madeline yesterday, and we talked a bit more about her experiences.
So there was so many risks. We knew that going into it. And it took us almost a year to decide to move home. And honestly, it took a lot of praying and going and through and weighing out all the pros and cons. We had lists for days. I kept a notebook and almost wrote in it daily of the pros and cons, and spoke to so many different people. And a lot of people were like, don't do it. It's too much. But what everybody came back to and said was, if this is what you think in the end you can accomplish, just remember that your family comes first. And as Bruce and I were newly married, when we finally decided, we knew in the end, our relationship and the family we were going to start, if we had to jump ship someday, if something happened, that we would choose each other and our family and not go under and put our family through that. So that was the main goal in the end, that we would still stick together, but we were going to give it a shot. And it was helpful having different people speak to Bruce as well, not just hearing it from me, but having that support group that we put together beforehand of meeting with vets and nutritionists, saying that, you know what, if you really put the effort and the work into it, you will succeed. And in the nonstop hard work, it's paid off.
I asked Madeline one short follow-up question about how they care for their herd and their land.
Being dairy farmers, we make our living off of our cows making milk. And the biggest way they do that is if we keep them comfortable and happy. And We try and do that in many different ways. We give them the best mattresses and barns and fans in the summer. But what's so cool about our cows, we graze them rotationally throughout the summer and the spring and the fall. Our cows love the spring the best because they get out there and get fresh, luscious grass that you see lots of pictures of. And we love that because it's so natural for them. We have our cows that are pregnant, we call dry cows, out, and we get to rotationally graze them. And it's good for the soil, it's good with erosion. And since we live on a big giant mountain, it's kind of what our ground was best suited for. My grandparents, that's what they did before. And it kind of moved away from that. And then we came back when we went organic, and everybody is out grazing all the time. Yes, they like to be in the cool barn in the summer and in the shade, but when it gets cooler out, the cows are outside and they love it. And we try and do the practices that support that. And we have to be an organic, meet many standards, which we have been trying to and succeeding and going above and beyond throughout. We've been working with Now Soil and Water, which we didn't used to, which is a local organization that helps us plan different things, not only what we need to add to our soil to make best crops for our cows, which again, making milk comes from making good quality crops for the cows, which is something really focused on.
Thank you to the denizens who couldn't be here today and MK Dairy for sharing their stories and for taking such good care of our water and land and air and animals.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen. So, hey, Margo.
How you doing?
Good. You grew up in a farm family, so you experienced firsthand the determination needed to be a family farmer. You show that determination in your activism yourself. How does it make you feel seeing these farmers face so many obstacles but still be able to exercise their power to grow good food for their communities?
This is my 8th year at Farm Aid, and every year I feel incredibly inspired when I come and get to hear stories like the denizens and the Pooles. To see folks continue to persevere through all sorts of problems, illness, debt, misfortune, is incredibly inspiring to me. And in many ways, I do relate to those struggles, not only because I saw firsthand how the loss of my family farm affected everyone around me, but also because I think farming is a lot like the music business, and in the fact that it's just really not sustainable for a lot of folks anymore. Corporate monopolies are destroying small businesses all over America, and every year, it gets harder and harder. I think both of these occupations are really risky because it takes the perfect environment to make it grow, and we're just up against a lot. The control of seeds, land, and water, it threatens small-scale farmers, and it exploits workers. And don't even get me started about the music business. We're facing streaming and, monopolies that own our ticket sales. It feels very similar. But every year we come together and we face these challenges. Where you spend your dollar, that matters a lot. So stop at the local farmers market. Don't buy things from Amazon. And most importantly, let's get out and vote.
Thank you, Margo. Thank you.
Thank you.
Something we heard a lot from these farmers is food sovereignty, which is the right of peoples to healthy and culturally appropriate food that is produced through socially just, ecologically sound, and sustainable methods. Let's take a look now at a Native community here in New York that is preserving and teaching the food growing traditions of its ancestors.
Food is the universal unifier. Our ancestors have always preserved seeds for us with the thought of 7 generations in mind. So when we're planting and harvesting, we're not just thinking about ourselves here today, we're thinking about the next 7 generations that are coming after us. We use crop rotation here, so we will grow corn 3 times, and then on that 4th year, we'll make it a bean field to replace nitrogen, and then on that 5th year, we'll either plant something else or grow squash, and then that following year, we let it just rest. It's very important that we focus on our seeds and making sure that we can preserve their original ability to produce food. All of our food that we grow here at the farm is distributed to community members for free. We put in the labor and the love to the foods, and then we have that reciprocity of returning the foods back to the people. Every single time I plant, I feel like I am honoring the work of my ancestors and the survival methods, tactics, and everything they had to do to survive, because nothing will stop that seed from growing once you put it in the ground. Our community supports our work financially so that we can have employment. And that's part of our sovereignty, is that we are able to feed ourselves and that we are able to provide ourselves with our own resources, that we're not reliant on any outside sources. Since we started the farm, I've seen a lot of our young people now are really getting into culinary arts. They are wanting to prepare indigenous foods and put that back on the tables. Not everybody has the gift of being able to grow food. Some people don't have a green thumb, but they may know how to operate equipment. They may know how to make the wooden paddles that we need to cook our foods when we're preparing them outside. So we may need woodworkers. There are ceremonies that have to take place. We need people that know the songs and the language and all of those things. So everyone has a value somewhere in the circle. We just got to find their place. When you look at food on a plate or you look at food that's being shared, it represents who you are as a human being. It represents all of your ancestors before you. It starts with loving the seeds. It starts with loving the land. And it starts with loving the people that you're producing the food for.
Thank you so much. Y'all, it's my pleasure to introduce Angela Ferguson. Give it up for Miss Angela. You are the supervisor of the Onondaga Nation Farm. You've been hanging with us all week. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your relationship. Thank you for making space for us. We really appreciate it. Just 20 miles south of Syracuse, this is a 163-acre plot of tribally reclaimed land. Miss Angela, like I said, you've been here with us all week. You've been so gracious. You're a leader in the Native food sovereignty movement, which encourages and requires us to tap into our own resilience and innovation, as well as our individual and collective power. Farmer is just one of your many roles, but as a farmer, what is in your power to do?
Everything. I was listening to a lot of the farmers here, and I realized that we're all coming full circle. People are realizing how important the original stewards of the land and the relationship that we had with it, and everybody else that's farming has that same relationship. So we have that commonality, and now we're realizing that we have to go back to the original teachings. And a lot of that has new buzzwords like regenerative agriculture, organic farming. All of those things are Haudenosaunee practices. It was our entire culture is based around that. And that's where that word came from, agriculture, because it is a culture. It's everything you do in your life and everything that surrounds you, entails your daily mind, your activities. And our philosophy to everything we do is one dish, one spoon. And that means every collective resource that we have as Indigenous people is a responsibility, and we have to share that equally. There has to be justice in that bowl. And so that's why our food is distributed for free, because the collective resource was invested in us to grow the food. And so I think even small communities can start rallying around this idea of saying a city, providing a city farm. where the city itself is providing employment for people. A county can provide a county farm. A state could have a state farm. Instead of leaving farmers, from what I'm hearing from my brothers and sisters, is that everyone's struggling. But we do have the power to fix it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angela. John, you've been advocating for farmers for decades. What should people do to honor the work, the hard work of people like Angela who are helping their communities reclaim their power through food?
Well, I'd like to address Angela for a moment, if I could, and the audience. Angela is a Native American. We came here and we took their fucking land. And now the government is wanting to throw people off of our land because they are immigrants trying to come to our country to have a fucking better world. And what do? But we put them in jail, we separate them from their fucking kids, and I have to say, I am so proud of you and what you people are doing. Not you people, excuse me, that's very, I'm old, I'm not very politically correct. But anyway, I'm so proud of what is happening. And what needs to happen, I think, is that the younger people who are doing this work need to get out and make some noise about it. Make some fucking noise about what is happening. Because if you don't, then corporate America will someday take everything. My sister is a farmer, and because of chemicals and shit from the 70s, she's had both her breasts removed. Her daughter has both her breasts removed. Wonder how that happened. Because of the chemicals that they were putting on and didn't know any better, they were just kids. And now today, we know better. And it's people like Angela who are setting the tone for us white people again. So let's hear it for Angela. That's what I say. And I've said it a million times before, and I'll say it again. If you want a better world, it starts with you.
Thank y'all. Thank you both. Thank you. As Jen mentioned earlier, when farming is community-centered, it meets the needs of the people, like you were talking about, Miss Angela, who exist there and reflects their lived experience, including their cultural relationship to that food. The Chester Agricultural Center in Chester, New York, which I assume is near about here somewhere, has invested in this approach, hoping to build a stronger, fairer regional system and an economy that can sustain itself. Check it out.
Farming would be a lot harder for me if I didn't get my start here at the Chester Ag Center. The things that the Ag Center can offer me that I can't get anywhere else, I would have had to build my own cooler, build my own wash pack, build my own greenhouse. These are all capital investments that a starting farmer just doesn't have the money for.
The CAC's mission is to provide affordable land access to a diversified set of producers who will receive secure tenure long-term, making food accessible throughout the region.
We heard about the community here, and we thought it's a great space, such a great community of farmers and support.
Our farmers are working together collaboratively to learn from one another, help each other be more efficient growers.
Farming has been really important for me as a way to connect back to my roots and to my culture, and as a way for me to connect with my family, especially as a first-generation Asian American.
The more you know, the better decisions you're going to make of where you're buying your produce, who you're supporting. When you support the farmers that look like you, you're bringing your culture back into your community because we're bringing the produce that we identify with.
We've built a community of farmers here who can really depend on each other, share marketing or distribution logistics.
One of the major benefits of being here at CAC is just the wealth of knowledge around me. Farming is the ultimate way to connect with food and to work with land. To be able to grow the food that my ancestors once grew feels really powerful.
It's quite different to grow something for yourself, to actually toil in the field for yourself. That resonates with every farmer. They wouldn't want to be in someone else's field, for the whole day growing, food for them. This is unique for us because we're the only 100% Black farm in this particular space. And at this time, we are trying to really rebuild a food system to make sure that we distribute the right resources to our community. For us, we look at that as an obligation.
Our farm is on something called the black dirt, which is a very, very special type of soil, also known as muck soil. It is incredibly fertile, incredibly rich.
In some parts of the soil is 40% organic matter, so incredibly rich. Your average soil is 5 to 10% organic matter. It fertilizes itself.
When I farm, it's not just about growing food, but it's about what I can really do for my community and our place in this world. A lot of the work I do revolves around representation as a whole, but especially in agriculture and in our local food system.
So growing and being a part of that change and developing a new food system is important to our community.
My advice to anybody who's getting into farming is that it is a lifestyle and not a job. And you put the farm first because it's a labor of love.
So we have here Christina Chan from Choy Division Farm, and Omowale and Nadia Adewale from Liberation Farm. Omowale and Nadia, you've worked through a lot of challenges to provide food for your community. When we visited you on your new farm at Chester Ag Center, you were a bit behind in planting because of recent extra barriers that you faced as farmers of color. Yet you still seem to see hope and power in people claiming agriculture back. And you work with young people and talk about that. I wondered if you could share your philosophy around that work.
This is the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. And this year, and so the politics is so incredibly important, and it's interwoven into how we farm. When we grow food, when the Black community grows food, we essentially are trying to be able to create that sovereignty in our community, and we have to start with our young people. We have to galvanize as much as possible. We have to educate them on their, just their history in terms of the trauma that had us escape to the urban communities where we're struggling to also grow food. And we're being so creative. And so we must empower our community to build land sovereignty. Without food sovereignty, there is no food justice. And you can't have food sovereignty without land sovereignty. So we're losing those resources. In New York State, we're 66% more likely to be denied. Black farmers for FSA funding. The average is only 19%. Nationally, we're 35% more likely to be denied. The average is only 8%. We were denied funding from the FSA twice. But we were vindicated when we showed them all the records in court and the information. And we reversed that through our appeal. we want to teach this to young people, but we want to teach this to everyone here. We want you to know our story, know our struggle, and know that we're going to continuously lead our work, our farm, and within our community, but we require support, not just equality. We need equity. Equity in the land, equity in the food, and hear our voices. I appreciate this.
Thank you. Nadia, would you like to add a little something? But I want to get to Christina too, so.
I hear a lot of we have to work together, a lot of that this week, which it sounds great, but working together is recognizing what the wrong that was done and rectifying it. Showing up when black farmers are speaking up, showing up when black farmers are yelling, showing up, not just saying, yes, oh, we support you, but actually showing up. Physically, financially, show up.
Thank you. Christina, there is power in embracing where you come from and maintaining that connection to inform who you become. What does it mean for you to be able to carry on the traditions of your ancestors by providing food to the Asian community in New York?
It's been a real honor for me to be able to grow culturally relevant food for my community back in New York. There aren't a lot of farms like mine that focus on growing these foods, despite the fact that there is the largest population of Asians outside of Asia in New York City. And it feels like a real travesty that there is no one in the local farm scene serving our community. And to me, that is a continuation of the story of Asian Americans in the US, where we have been consistently erased throughout history, our contributions and our presence. And it was the same in the local food system here. And so it has been my role really to bring that representation back and to show them that we do belong here and we are part of the society here. And we are not foreigners, and we are not perpetual strangers as we are often viewed. And I've been able, thank you. And most importantly to me, it's not just the growing of the food that has been really powerful, but it is the use of land as a gathering space. I've used the farm as a way to create healing and a space of belonging and home for all of those who grew up like me here as a third culture kid, where you are Chinese at home, but you're American outside. So who are you really, and where do you belong? But here on the farm, all of us belong, and we all eat the same food, and we share the same background, and that has been the most powerful thing that I've been able to do with the farm, is to bring us all together and to make everyone feel at home.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Christina. Thank y'all for your message and your words. Neil, some folks say food is belonging, food is love. We see that demonstrated so well in these communities. How can we love them back?
I'm going to stand because I want to stand for all of us, and I want to stand for you. And I just want to say that, you know, we love you, and you're no different from us. We're all the same, and we're all here for the American farmer, and you are American farmers, and everyone out there that's a farmer is an American farmer, and we're together. We are different, and we're separated in some ways, but we're all together, and we have to look at it like we're together for the future, because that's where our power really is in all of us. And showing that we love the American farmer. I'm standing here for my brothers and my sisters, and for all of Farm Aid and for the 39 years of Farm Aid that we've had so far. I'm remembering the red t-shirts that used to be in the audience. There's one right there, Stop Factory Farms. That was like 35 years ago we started seeing these things. And we need to do that. When you see them along the highway, when you see the long industrial looking buildings full of animals with fans on the sides of them, that's what we're against. That's not American farming, that's corporate factory farming. But really, I think what we need to do when we all stand together is just realize that the one thing we can all do is think about it when you get up in the morning and you get in your car and you turn it on. Think about what you're doing. Is there someone else who could ride in the car with you so you burned half as much fuel to get where you're going? Is there some other way you could get there that doesn't do this? Because that's what we're really fighting. We're fighting for our lives. The American farmer is fighting for your life and for the life of the earth. And what's killing the earth here is climate. This is not a natural thing that's happening, and we're causing it. We all together are causing it. We really have to believe that we can do something. There is something to do about it. Think about what you're doing when you turn on your fossil mobile and start polluting. When you pull up outside the school with the air conditioners not running and you have to pick up your kids because it's so hot, turn your car off. Remember that we're causing this all together, and that's the way we can help ourselves and these American farmers who are here with us and out there, is by acting together to stop what we're doing that is damaging the earth where these people grow our food. It's very basic, and everyone shares in it. There's nobody who doesn't have a chance to help in some small way. So every day we wake up, we have an opportunity to be more together than we were yesterday. We have an opportunity to do something alongside our neighbors who are thinking the same way. We have an opportunity to talk to them and ask them what they're doing, if they're doing anything, to help America, to help the world, and to help the American farmer. And we love the American farmer. Thank you so much for everything you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Equity, everybody has what they need. That's what we have to say. Meeting these farmers and hearing their stories, I can't help but notice their generosity, even including your time here today. They don't just want to grow food to make a profit. They want to spread the joy that comes from working the land and providing for their community. You'll see that in our next story too. So let's take a look.
When I was younger, my family lost their home back in the housing crisis in the early 2000s. After we lost our home, I couldn't garden. I would see other farmers and they could cut all their own wood and heat their homes. They could grow all their own food. They had a lot more self-sufficiency than people that aren't farming. They could do things to help themselves without actually having the money. That kind of put a light on for me. I've always farmed on my own. It's hard to work at a restaurant and then go work on someone else's farm too. I only have so many hours in the day. I would love to have a farm incubator here eventually where other farmers can be here and to learn about farming and have access to some land. I have 106 acres and I don't think I'd ever realistically need all of that. So I could probably have 10 farmers on that at one point. It is a large farm, and for it to really be as productive as it can be, it shouldn't just be me. I can produce a lot of food for people, but I can't do it all on my own. It's mainly livestock and hay are the main things that are growing here. So I breed Cooney pigs, and I use those for my farm-to-table classes, butchery demonstrations, and I also make lard soap. I just want it to be like a profitable, functional farm where people are welcome to come and learn and spend time with nature. I just hope to expand and to add new enterprises to the farm. Each new enterprise on the farm provides a new opportunity for someone to be employed, but also provides a new opportunity for people to come and learn. The goal is to be a full-time farmer and to be on the farm all the time, to never have to leave this place that I love to be. It's hard work. I won't ever stop saying it's really hard. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do, but it's absolutely worth it.
We've always been a multiracial space with the intention to want to prioritize BIPOC, queer and trans farmers who are learning agriculture.
We're trying to cultivate beginning farmers to see a way that they can really envision themselves doing this work and doing it not in isolation, but like tapped into a community that has distribution and cooler storage and cold storage and this and that, all these markets and set up that they can also envision a longevity.
It is a revolutionary, radical, and political act to not only provide, nutritious food for communities that historically haven't had access to it, but also to give accessible technical assistance and training to people who also want to be doing that work. We just want future generations to not have it so hard and to have just like better policies in place that support just the basic needs of workers, of farms, of, anyone who is interested in growing food.
Food sovereignty is a more holistic look at how are communities influencing who grows their food, how it's getting grown. Is it organic? What pesticides are being used? Is it culturally relevant to that community? Is it food that they actually want to eat, and is that food nutritious and safe?
We should be able to have these experiences that bring us joy and connectivity with either our culture, our people, our friends, our family. Like, it should be available to everybody, and we're just working really hard to try to make that happen any way that we can.
Welcome Justin Butts from Black Wind Farm and Dee Rooney from Rocksteady Farm. Justin, your love of farming is so palpable, even though your journey to become a farmer has been quite challenging. What would you say to future and even present generations who are interested in becoming farmers, but are concerned about the barriers that we've been talking about today?
Well, whenever you're doing something that's worth doing, there's going to be things that are going to stand in your way. You're going to have to overcome the challenges. When I first wanted to go to college, I lost 100 pounds, so I could go in the Navy, so I could get a GI Bill, so I could pay my way through college. So with farming, it's not easy. You have to network. You have to meet other farmers, meet people that have similar interests to you. But you have to be willing to go into spaces where you may not feel comfortable. You have to step out of your comfort zone. Farming, you will never be comfortable. You will be outside in the rain working for hours, and you'll be soaked, and you have to keep working until you're done. So I was often I'm from a rural area. I was the only black person that was farming in my county when I lived in Pennsylvania, and I'm the only black person that's farming in my town now in New York. And I think you have to be willing to give other people a chance, give them the opportunity to know you and get to know them, and try to work with the community that's around you and build connections. Because I wouldn't be where I am now if no one helped me. There were a lot of farmers that went out of their way to make sure that I stayed in farming, and I wouldn't be here without them, and I'm so thankful.
Dave, we just heard the farmers of Rocksteady. I'm out of order. Okay, my bad. I'll come back to you in a minute.
Thank you, Justin. And Dee, in the film, you specifically mentioned the joy that comes from being connected to your community, your culture, and your land. And I don't know, you can't really tell in that video how much fun the crew had throwing those watermelons, harvesting that day. I was there, I wanted to jump right in. But how have you seen that joy play out with the farmers that you train and mentor, and in the community, the greater community around the farm that Rocksteady serves?
So Rocksteady has been a farm for 9 years, and I think in the development of our story, our voice, our experiences as queer farmers, and often as queer farmers of color, there are places where we're uncomfortable and we don't feel welcome, we feel unsafe, and I think collectively all of us always want to feel safe and secure no matter where we're at, but especially in places that are meaningful, such as our work and working with the land, and being in relationship with land as well. And so I feel that what we've been able to cultivate at Rocksteady these 9 years is creating a place that queer farmers, trans farmers, farmers of color can feel whole and safe, and you can, like, Rocksteady is a place to discover yourself and, you know, understand yourself on a journey with connection to your own ancestor and lineages of food and your identity. And we want to have fun. Like, we're a bunch of goofballs and who work really, really hard to both feed our community and to live in good principles and integrity with ourselves and grow food for an incredibly rich community, both locally and down in New York City. And those individuals are an extension of ourselves as well. And yeah, it's just a good time, but a hard good time.
Thank you, Dee. Thank you so much for your work. We see you and we appreciate you. Thank you. So, Dave, we just heard the Farmers of Rocksteady talk about food sovereignty as a political and radical act. What does that mean to you?
Well, thanks everybody. Dee, thanks for speaking to that, and Justin. But I'll probably be redundant, repeat the things we've heard. But it is a little bit heartbreaking, and I'm sure you all hear what I'm saying, when farming the earth and that connection is a radical political act. I mean, that's a society that's lost its mind. And when I think of what are the problems, because all these farmers, what they're all talking about, what I'm hearing at least, is connection, is a real connection, and that connection is to the earth, to our mother, and to truth. And the enemy of that connection is greed. The enemy of that connection. I used to think, we have all the technology, they have all the technology to save the planet if we work together. We have it, we know how to do it. We know how to raise meat, we know how to raise vegetables in balance with nature. We know how to do it, we have the technology, we have the wisdom. But the thing that stops us is greed, and it's corporate farms, it's corporate agriculture. What's stopping us from being able to afford homes is corporate greed. What stops us from being able to afford health care? It's corporate greed, and it's the fact that our politicians are joined with that corporate greed to serve it before it serves us. We need to serve our planet, and we need to serve each other and connect to it, all of us. Thank you for being revolutionaries in a place where you should just be the most sought after resource of human beings. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. And thank you to every farmer on the stage with us this morning, and those from all over the country who are growing good food and exercising their power and fighting that corporate greed. We know that family farmers play an essential role as an economic driver and cultural foundation for our communities. They are resilient, innovative, and incredibly generous, but they can't succeed without the collective power that all of us, those of us who eat, bring to the table. Shorlette?
Right on, and y'all got our board fired up. Y'all fired up too? All right, we got work to do, y'all. Thank you so much, Jen. We absolutely have the ability to take back our food system from corporate America. And we can if we're determined to learn more about the ways that immense corporate power is allowed to grow. And we can start that today. Demand better policies, buy food directly from the source, support diversity in farming, promote the connection between food sovereignty and strong communities.
That's right, Shorlette. Collectively, we cannot be beat. Working together, we can reclaim the food system we know that we deserve.
Let's start today by getting to know these farmers. We got farmer badges. Go up and say hello to a farmer. And so many others who will be in the Homegrown Village this afternoon, just up the way. Learn about our innovation and resilience. Try their food at the homegrown concessions. And right now, one of the most important actions you can do is to take this energy and those connections home and do something. My grandma used to say, don't just talk about it, be about it. And continue. We can continue to find ways to show up for farmers and each other. You'll be inspired and your bellies will be full.
One last thing before we go dig in and get full. We want to send a big thank you to Live Nation and Saratoga Performing Arts Center for hosting Farm Aid 2024. This place is truly magical, and we love partnering with you and your entire teams to make this day, Farm Aid, the best it can be. We also want to recognize New York State Parks who are here with us today. And in addition to this gorgeous park we're in, they are working statewide with an ambitious goal coming from Governor Hochul and New York State to plant 25 million trees before 2033 for climate mitigation. So go out there and hug one of those great trees. We want to send a big thanks to Legends Hospitality for our homegrown menu, and to all of you out there for supporting farmers. Also want to give a shout out to the Farm Aid staff who don't just work today, but all year round doing all of the incredible work that's happening. And also those members of the board of directors who are not on stage with us this morning, but Lana Nelson and Mark Rothbaum and I said Lana, yeah, I think everyone else is on the stage with us, so. One more plug. If you can't get enough of Shorlette, she is going to be on stage in the farmyard at 12:30. We're going to be joined by U.S. Department of Agriculture representatives to make an exciting announcement there. So if you all head directly that way up into the Homegrown Village, start exploring, and tune in for another great bit of news.
Well, thanks everybody. Happy Farm Aid. Y'all have a beautiful day.